Wagwan, my G's. Today I get to talk about my favourite deck of all time, through any format, and that's Expanded Regidrago, my little son. This deck is the best deck in Expanded. It has been for a while, and it's only gotten better with time, and I wanted to make a video today to discuss what I believe to be the best deck to come up with for this format, and yeah, just get into it. I'll explain the card choices as we go. Yeah, so first off we start with 3 Regidrago V-Star and 4 Regidrago V. Now, the whole thing with Regidrago V-Star is it copies any dragon attack in your discard pile. This is a ridiculous card that only really seeks to ruin Expanded, but I also love it to pieces. You get Legacy Star to dump 7 cards and then put any 2 from your discard to your hand, meaning you can reuse a lot of your very much power cards. And yeah, you get to run a toolbox of the best dragons. There's so many that are good, but there is a lot that are good. Regidrago V is also a pretty damn good card. You get to Celestial Roar for 1 energy, discard the top 3 if any of them are energy attached with this Pokemon. Now importantly, it doesn't say basic energy, so you could just hit a single double dragon energy and still have the attack next turn, even with another energy in your hand. And Dragon Laser is actually pretty good. Do 130 to the active and then 30 to a bench. Can take out a Budu, which is pretty important. 130 is not insane, but along with Muscle Band, you can take some decent 150 hits, and then you can sort of compound it with Curum, the 30 on the bench. In terms of the copy dragon cards, I think, in terms of what the other cards I'm running, I like these. Hisuian Gudra V-Star, Noivern EX, Dragapult EX, Dialga GX, Koraidon EX, and Kyurem. They each do a different thing, and each have very important things to do. Biggest one, Dialga GX. Probably one of the most arguable unfair cards in the deck. You get to run Timeless GX and Shred, which are both relevant. Timeless GX, GX attack, 150, just take an extra turn. Why pay 5 energy when you just pay 2? And Shred's also quite important. It's a Shred attack, so not affected by any effects, but it also does 80. That knocks out a Mimikyu versus things like Stall. Huge, incredibly important. The next one will probably be Kyurem. This is kind of what you'd pair with Dialga GX for a lot of early game knockouts. It does 110 to 3 Pokemon by discarding all energy. Of course, that could just be a double dragon energy and normal energy. That's not a problem at all. So a lot of times versus setup decks, things like Charizard, Inteleon, or potentially just some sort of Raichu. Raichu's very good. This is very good as Raichu. You go Dialga GX, 150, take an extra turn, then 110, 3 targets. This could do 260, or it could up to 300 on the active if you have sort of Muscle Band and a Regidrago V-Star. Hit for 170, then hit for 130. That's it for 300 damage. That's knocking out an opposing V-Star. That's very, very good. Next, you have the big hitter. This could be, I think, one of 3. There's Koraidon, which is it has different merits. I like Koraidon the most. You get to have Retribution Strike, does 20, and it's an Outrage, so 10 more for each damage counter. And then this one is 1 fire, 2 fighting, 280, and does 62 itself. 280 kills an opposing Regidrago V-Star. Now the important thing is this is a double dragon energy and a fire. So a Crispin and a double dragon energy. You can start with this and knock out an opposing V-Star, which is incredible. I like Koraidon EX because it hits enough. You can hit for 300 really easily. And that still kills most things, but you can start with it and then kind of donk a lot of decks. If you can attach first turn, pass, attach another one, you can kill a lot of stuff here, or just go double dragon energy Crispin. Now the other sort of tech ones, we've got Noivern EX, which has two relevant attacks, 70 for Covert Flight, and then stops all attacks and damage done by basics, which is incredibly useful. And then 140, and you get to do Lockout Special Energies and Stadiums. That means you can keep Path to the Peak around. They have to draw Field Blower or Lost Vacuum. You can stop Special Energy, so Lugia gets slowed down if you can knock out the Archeops. It's very, very versatile. People often run Noivern GX as well for the item lock. I find you don't really need it with Budu around now. Budu's kind of really revitalised how you go aggro with this, because this has got much more control than it used to be. Dragapult, the Scourge of Standard right now, it's arguably one of the best attackers of all time. 206 damage counters anywhere on your opponent's board. This with Curum can set up some disgusting turns. This with Dialga can set up some disgusting turns. You can really like take 4 to 6 prize cards easily with this deck. And the Hisuian Gudra V-Star. This is the sort of tech attacker for the opposing decks of Regidrago. You do 200 and then reduce all damage done by 80. Things like the Welder Box, you can really mess with their attacks. It can make new VMAX really struggle to knock you out. It's just a really nice card to stop a lot of aggro. And it's useful, because this deck does take a little bit to set up if you can't just completely explode out the gate. Now for the sort of support Pokemon, we've got a Dene GX, a Squawkabilly EX, a Tapu Lele GX, and a Oricorio GX, just for the consistency ones so far. They'll kind of do similar things. Oricorio is a Fez that can't be stopped by Wobbuffet, which could definitely be Fez. I prefer Oricorio for the time being. Tapu Lele, it's a Meowth basically, but it has a relevant attack for it does 20 times out of energy attached to both active Pokemon. And it's not affected by weakness or resistance. Is what it is. It's pretty useful sometimes. You've got Squawkabilly. If you play it on the first turn, the bench, you get to discard your hand, draw 6, only on the first turn, so it's discard fodder otherwise. And then Dene GX, when you play it from your hand to the bench, you can discard your hand, draw 6. Then we've got Latias, Budew, and Marshadow. Marshadow is once a turn when it's on the bench, you can discard it, discard a stadium. It's good for getting rid of your own path. Also good for getting rid of a path or a parallel city. Pardon me. If the opponent is playing another Regidrago deck and they've got Noivern up, Budew, Scourge of Standard, 10 damage, no energy, lots of items, 30 HP is pretty useful. Don't want to play it for no reason if the opponent's potentially playing Regidrago, because they can just snipe it on the bench. And then Latias is just free retreat. It's just cracked. That's all our Pokemon. Now, for the supporters. Now, Regidrago is quite a support-heavy deck, because it is a control deck quite often. We're going to run 2 Professor's Research, discard your hand, draw 7. 2 Guzma, it's Boss's Orders plus Switch in 1. 2 Raihan, if you've got a Pokemon knocked out by your opponent's attack during the last turn, you can attach a basic energy from your discard to one of your Pokemon, and then search for any card. Now, Regidrago is a cheeky deck. Because of Dialga saying you take an extra turn right after this one, Raihan can be activated in subsequent turns. So, opponent knocks you out, you Raihan, set up a Dialga, take an extra turn. Next turn you can just Raihan again and do the same thing, because technically your opponent knocks you out during their last turn. This works with teammates as well, but teammates is a bit weaker in this sort of deck. You really want to be able to set up more things. Raihan is basically set up a Regidrago. Get a fire or grass energy, then search for double dragon energy if you've got no one set up. It also lets you do subsequent turns of Curum, which is enormous. Pokemon Ranger. This removes all effects of attacks on players and Pokemon. This means you can play items under Budew or Seismitoad. It means you can, something like Stoutland, or Stoutland not really, you can kind of remove the retreat lock. It's a get out of jail free card. I think a few Regidrago decks I've seen don't play it. I think it's a fool's game. It's best to have it, not need it, than need it, not have it. Because you can get locked out of the game very easily by stall strategies that are trying to punish you for that. Iono, which is just very useful. Crispin lets you search for 2 basic energies, 1 of each different type, and then attach 1 to your Pokemon and add 1 to your hand. Important to note, if you only search 1, it just goes to your hand. So you need to track where your energies are very early with this deck. You've got Carmine, first turn. If you're going first, you can play it, discard your hand, draw 5. Then Marnie is the other consistency supporter. It's sort of another copy of Iono, sort of another copy of Carmine or Lilies. Most decks of Regidrago run Lilies. I found I sort of prefer running Carmine and 2 Research. Lilies is useful, but I want to push more of a mid-range deck than a control deck with Regidrago. I think pure control's done better, pure aggro's done better. You want to really push that sort of Jund mid-range style of gameplay. Marnie lets both players shuffle the hand onto the bottom of their deck. You draw 5, opponent draws 4. It's better late game if you're winning, but early game if you're losing. So you can get your Iono very easily with Battle Compressor and Versus Seeker. But other than that, it's pretty customizable with this. I think the research and Guzmas are pretty much non-negotiable, but almost every consistency piece for this deck is negotiable. You could run more Dedenne, you could run Crobat, you could lose Marnie, and you could run more Iono. It's very usable. N instead of Iono. For the items, items are really good in this deck. For Mysterious Treasure, discard a card and search for a Psychic or a Dragon. Quick Ball, discard a card, search for a Basic. Incredibly powerful. This is like the height of consistency. People will also run a Ultra Ball quite often. I found with the Pokemon I don't really need Ultra Ball, but it's certainly useful. I've probably got Marnie for it, or potentially a Versus Seeker. Speaking of Versus Seeker, 3 Versus Seeker, it's an item that you add back a supporter. You can just reuse the one-offs. It's why expanded decks run one-off supporters. Expect is Prime Catcher. The other option is Megaton Blower for Lugia and opposing Regidrago V-Star decks, because it can discard the double Dragon Energy. Versus Mew VMAX is useful. The Prime Catcher sets up a lot stronger boards. You can do more combo kills with Kyurem, I found. Hisuian Heavy Ball is to get your basics out. It means you can get more consistency turn 1 in finding a Squawkabilly, a Dene. Just get as much in your deck as possible. 1 Battle Compressor. A lot of decks will run 2, some will even run 3. I found 1's okay, because you don't want to use this until you can just say, send 3 dragons, and then do your Dialga plus the Kyurem, and just absolutely obliterate the opponent's board. Or if you desperately need a supporter, then search for one of them. The issue is things like Girafarig are super common right now to punish Regidrago, and they will eat away anything you put in the discard pile, and that's just going to hurt. You need your dragons in there. You only run 6. You can maybe run up to 8, but you're really pushing it at 8 because your consistency is so important. Then 1 Super Rod for recovery, and 1 Echoing Horn. Echoing Horn is a special card where you can put a basic Pokemon from the opponent's discard pile onto their bench. This is hysterical with certain things like Buddy. If your opponent discards a Buddy, you can use Regidrago V with Crispin. Try and snipe it out. You can bring back a discarded basic that's quite weak to the Kyurem setup. But things like support Pokemon that won't get any value. It's very specialised for this deck. You can definitely not run it. It's incredibly easy to just not run. You could just run a Battle Compressor instead. But I found it's very useful for setting up plays from behind. It lets you take up to 4 prizes pretty easily, as long as you can plan ahead. Yeah, the items are going to be locked up by Buddy a lot of the games, but they're individually incredibly powerful. Your first turn's a lot with this format, but it's definitely not unwinnable if you get Buddied. 2 Muscle Band, if it's just flat, do 20 more damage to the active. That's just very, very useful. Then 4 Double Dragon Energy, 3 Grass Energy, 2 Fire Energy. This is for Crispin. Also, this will be useful for Koraidon. And then Double Dragon Energy, the strongest energy in the format. I'd say pretty much uncontested. It just lets you set up your decks so fast. You'd need to start running things like Tilmask Ogopon or Reshiram to really match its speed. I think if they're ever going to ban something expanded, not that I think they should, but they're probably going to ban the Dialga or the Double Dragon Energy. There's no real good justification for anything but those in terms of Regidrago. And then the 2 stadiums is Path to the Peak, which shuts off all non-rule boxes, and Parallel City. You only really do this to one side. This is to make your opponent's bench size 3. Now this is why I run Noivern. Noivern's good, locks out basics, sure, it's good versus some decks like Welderbox, but it's really important when you can lock out the opponent's stadiums, because now they are forced to find Field Blower. Or Farber. Farber's the big one. You could definitely run Farber in this as well. I found I don't particularly need it as long as I can find these. With Ranger plus my own stadium plus Noivern, it's super easy to get. And you put a Path to the Peak or a Parallel City, lock them out with Noivern, and now they are really, really struggling to come back from this. You're shutting off the consistency, you're shutting off them getting more consistency cards out. This deck's just clean. I found in testing you really want to prioritize setting up. I would set up to 3 Regidrago Vs if you can. Even just 2 is enough. But making sure you've got the right attackers, not dumping them too early, conserving your resources. Don't be afraid to Marnie instead of research if you've got a couple of things in hand that you want to keep and you're at risk of Giraffe Reg from something like Shadow Rider or Gardevoir. They're both just very useful. And yeah, this is my list. I think I found it pretty powerful in testing. Might get another at some point depending on what new cards we get. Be sure to like and subscribe. Peace.